In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Question everything, trust nothing. Welcome back to another episode of Debate Crypto TA Thursday. We've got Magic Internet Money and the one and only Crypto Weatherman. It's been a mission to get you on the show, bro, but we finally got you. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on today. It's the first time on this show. I love that how you start with question everything. The DAG CEO and I have been at
Yeah.
odds because I've been questioning his project. So I
Uh-oh.
love that. He was like, don't question this. You should be asking how you can, give to the community. I'm like, no, if I'm going to put money into this, I'm going to question you all day long. So yeah,
100%,
I
dude.
love that. I love that. You're on it, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what we try to do here. Everything is about questioning absolutely every narrative here on the show, right? Because you never know. You can't. Crypto's not about trusting; it's about questioning. So, Magic, how you been, man?
Oh, dude, business as usual. Always good.
Good to hear, dude. Good to hear. So, guys, like always, right? TA Thursday around the charts. We're gonna be talking about Bitcoin. We're gonna be talking about Ethereum, and then we're gonna get an altcoin of our choice to be covering that. So, the Federal Reserve came out yesterday, right? Everybody knows another interest rate hike, 75%, 75 basis points, and they seem like they're not gonna be stopping anytime soon. They're gonna keep raising interest rates. People have been calling for way lower levels on Bitcoin, right, down to 12K, 10K, whatever it is. Some people are saying that we're already at the bottom. What do you guys think right now? Right, we don't even have to go into the charts. Just what do you guys think with what's happening with the Federal Reserve? Are we close to a bottom here, or is there a big chance that we're going to drop lower?
Personally, I'm pretty neutral on. I don't necessarily think it's like imminent. We're going to drop lower like right away. There's some signs in the charts that'll give that, but they told us what they're going to do. Markets should be prepared for this. If you look at not just the commentary from the Fed, but from like some of the former board members, like Bullard out of St. Louis, he had mentioned that they're probably going to front load 2023 rate hikes into 2022, meaning that we'll probably get 50 basis points in December. So this is something that to me is expected. And they may do something where they put us into a crash situation. They've kind of alluded to that they might do that because they feel they have the tools to handle that scenario, which I think is a really poor way to look at it. But I think what they're doing is front loading rates, and they want to see what's inflation looking like come February, because they're going to have the data at that point. They've been doing it for several hikes, and we'll find out. But you never know. Maybe they do something crazy and go 75 in December. And I think that at that point, then there's like, that's a big problem. I don't think that's likely, but that's how I'm viewing it. To me, it's still just a range. I'm taking the trades for what they are, because otherwise you're just going to sit around with your thumb up your butt all day, not taking any trades and making any money. Like you have to do what you got to do.
Dude, perfect. What do you think, Weatherman?
I've been the resident perma bull in crypto, and I've been fighting and defending that line like a goalkeeper now for 142 days, and haven't shifted at all. I really do think that June was the bottom. When we had that, the FOMC yesterday, 75 basis points, there was an 88% probability. None of this was shocking. There was no, Jerome Powell's speech was completely bland. I nearly fell asleep when I was watching it. But the biggest thing that I've been trying to drive into, my audience and in my videos is the market moves on average, and this is an average, 116 days ahead of economic decisions, ahead of FOMC. So you may have seen some of my videos where I say I don't really care about what happened yesterday. I also don't really care about December. Right now, the probability sit at 52% chance of a 50 basis points, so just slightly up. If it's 75, in my opinion, it's baked in. Where I'm really watching is February and March, okay? Because again, I'm trying to get 4 months ahead of where their minds are at. And I'm watching global currencies fail. We're watching the euro, the British pound, the
Yep.
franc, all of them struggling. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, and in my opinion, do you think like put yourself in your shoes of a leader of a country, and you're watching your currency fail? Are you going to let that happen? No, you're going to fight back. And we're starting to see some of those rallies. We saw the Bank of England come into the picture, and they're popping back up. The Dixie has not reclaimed that 114 territory, which the Dixie is a calculation. It's not an actual traded currency. Okay, it's just a value. And so overall, we have not reclaimed that. I still remain bullish. Has it been as quickly as I would love? No, not at all. I would love it much faster. And I do not like the chop personally. I like kind of a steady trend upwards or a steady trend downwards. I don't, similar to magic internet money. I don't care which direction, but I need movement. I do not like going to the sideway.
Yeah, definitely, right? You need some life in the markets to make some trades to be able to get some gains, right? That's why we're all here in crypto, right? The volatility. We don't want to be in the stock market with an up 1%, move in an entire month kind of situation. So you think that even if we have 75%, 75 basis points, keep saying 75%, basis point in December, we will not continue to go lower. So you're in the camp that we kind of are bottomed out already, and we're not going to go any lower from here.
Yeah, anything is possible. So you're never gonna catch me putting my foot in my mouth
Yeah,
and say it's guaranteed that we're
no
not gonna go
absolutes.
down.
Yeah.
But I think the probability of going down below 17.5 in the near term is extraordinarily low. The fact that we're talking about 50 basis points is showing the gear shifts, that pivot change in narratives. So no, I don't think that. Now, some of you, have been talking about the melt up. I saw the title for this. Uh, that is my thing. I still stand by it. Obviously, I don't think the timeline is going to be accurate. I'm probably going to have to say, hey, it didn't happen by November. That comes with it. But overall, I haven't shifted my position on it. I still believe in a third leg. But a lot of people are missing, like, I do think that there's going to be a 13K, potentially a 6K Bitcoin later in 2023, maybe even 2024, when most people are expecting this huge rally because of the Bitcoin happening, which again, is a bit contrarian than most people think. So
Okay, I want to get back to that. I want to get back to that 6K, 13K later in 2013. So for now, let's jump into the charts of Bitcoin and let's see what are you guys seeing, this month, end of the year. We're already in November, right? Between now and the end of December, what are you guys seeing for Bitcoin? Who wants to take it first? Magic?
Up to you, man. I can go whenever.
Go for it, Magic.
All right, cool. So chart wise, pretty simple. They're probably going to look very similar. One thing I'm going to point out is just some generic levels here on ATAS. So we're going to look at both volume and time as that's something. This is more of a broader range, but the levels you need to pay attention to are $20,000 and then $19,150. And so what you have is a discrepancy between a time point of control and then a volume point of control. So what you'll see is that you're actually spending more time at the low of the range, but higher volume is above that. So you don't want to see those two start lining up near the low of the range. It's actually not a good thing. So let's say that you spent more time at the high of the range and your volume point of control was down at the low of the range, that would actually be quite bearish. So with the volume point of control sitting above it right now, that's actually a good thing in favor of Bitcoin. It doesn't mean you can't come down to this and backfill some inefficiencies, which I am in favor of. We talked about it this morning on our live stream. These lows right here that were taken were on extremely low volume and they were on very high open interest with high delta at the same time, but not real strong buying tails. So you have some very clear areas on the chart to work off of where you're looking at this as this is the blue box of death and despair. I've been shilling you guys on this channel since basically June at 20,688. If you look beneath this though, these are essentially just single prints. Right. So what you've got here are very little resistance and you're just basically sitting above. You need to see these defended if the trend is going to continue in the short and immediate term and get up to these levels like 22.5. However, just with the weakness of this low, I'm not expecting a full on breakdown necessarily, but I am expecting us to potentially take those lows and come in and see if the trend is going to be defended, because that's all this is a trend defense. So you've got another statistical target down there. The monthly pivot is there. It just makes sense to maybe get a sweep of these lows. And then we have to see, are we getting an SFP or are we going to come down to these broader targets down here in like the 19,100 area, as I fondly call it, the caveman area. It's just a hand generated pivot, but also your local gold pocket, your October NPOC is there. And nothing is necessarily broken, but what you don't want to see is coming down here, spending time, and then volume shifting down as well in terms of overall volume spent across this board, right? You start seeing that, and that's when things start to look bad. Then it starts to look more like a B-shaped, lowercase B-shaped volume profile, and you would be, looking at it as bearish continuation. So when I say there's obvious things inside of the chart that are going to tell you one way or another, they're there. Just like to the upside, if you were to work this out as a local range, very, very simple. You've got a nice local market structure range. You don't need any time basis for this. And you can see that what is coming in at the point of control, it is your 12M1, which is going to be that yearly pivot from 2021. The key level we've been discussing for quite some time. What happens when we get above this? Generally, we say a weekly closing basis. We go to 22.5 and then try to continue up to like 24, which to me, even if this does rally beyond here, I am still looking at this as potentially range bound just based on the overall shape and the volume that's been put in up there. I'm not looking for anything too far above maybe 24 to 25K. I've been wrong before though, and it's just one of those things where there's very clear triggers for both upside and downside. And if you're going to get anything that's going to be worrisome, it's going to be losing 19,150 or just spending a ton of time down here and having that volume profile shift down with it. Now, if you spend a lot of time down here, but the volume doesn't shift down with it, what it's telling you is you're spending a ton of time at the low of the range, and they're not doing a very good job of moving price lower. So you want to see that continue to hold in that format in terms of how the range is building out. That's really all I've got.
Cool.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. So 19.1, everybody, that's what you got to be looking at in case, Bitcoin starts heading back down to these lower levels. Before we move on to Crypto Weatherman, guys, smash the likes if you haven't smashed the likes just yet. Make sure you're joining Danger Close Alpha Discord. We're going to be giving away 5 ETH. Well, I should say somebody's going to be winning 5 ETH by competing. Right? It's not just a giveaway. It's not just show up and get something for free. You're going to have to compete, and you're going to be able to win 5 ETH, guys. So make sure you join the Discord. Make sure you get involved with Danger Close Alpha. But guys, and if you're not following Magic Internet Money, if you're not following Crypto Weatherman, their socials are down below in the description box. Make sure you go follow them. They come on here making sure they do lots of hard work for you guys to let you guys know what is happening in the TA charts tonight. So, Weatherman, what are you seeing for Bitcoin, man?
All right.
Give me your thought process.
Am I sharing my screen yet? There we go.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So, largely, I would say Magic Internet Money and I agree short term. I do see those lower lows. We've seen this every FOMC where it continues downwards, at least for a period of time. But I've been talking about this on previous streams. What do we see within a day or two afterwards? We see it to start to tick upwards. So, I think Magic, you said you were looking for 19.1. I'm looking for around 20K. So we're, sometimes people are like, oh, you're within, $500 of each other, like you're different. That's fairly close in terms of like values. So because we're very similar, I'm going to actually look at more of a macro time frame. And I want to share over here on the weekly is, Bollinger Bands. These are something that I turn on maybe like once a week. It's not something that I regularly look at. And Bollinger Bands don't tell you up or down, but they tell you whether there's going to be an explosive price movement. And what we're seeing is these Bollinger Bands over here on the weekly chart are forming into a compression phase. Okay, that's where they're getting tighter. Notice you read these up down, so a very wide. That's an explosive move to the downside in this example, or an explosive movement to the upside. Okay, we're going back into a compression phase. So we don't know exactly how long that compression phase can be, but it is indicative that when you're going into that, the next phase is an expansion move. So this is very indicative of a big move. And many people know that, of course, I am more bullish. And when we hop over here for signals, people are saying, oh, there's not accumulations happening. Well, that's all I've been seeing. There's actually more accumulations happening now than there was back here in the beginning of 2021, when most people were just getting predominantly dumped on. Most people don't realize that was predominantly dumped. And they're also, what I've been tracking very hard, something that has kept me into a more macro bullish mindset, is unfinished auctions. So unfinished auctions are essentially a ton of trading activity that has occurred, but there was a buyer or a bunch of buyers or sellers that did not get to complete their transactions. Here's one as an example down here at 20K. One of the reasons I'm watching that price target, you see the zeros here. That means there was a ton of trading that wanted to happen, but didn't happen. And so it's very common for price to travel back into these regions. There is a ton on a more macro time frame. When I parse this out here on the weekly, I put it out to $50, like the increment spread. There's a ton of unfinished auctions to the upside, which that's a big sign that those are going to get filled. Personally, I would love it next week. That would be the dream for me. But maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months. We never know exactly the time frame on it. So the combination of these Bollinger Bands, we have the RSI that is trending upwards with flat price action. So that's essentially a bullish divergence that you're getting over here, Very indicative. I mean, they're literally, in my opinion, besides like short-term volatility that, Mim was just talking about, there isn't a lot of signs, contrary to the CNBC articles, contrary to the Fed raising rates, there's not a lot of signs of like a significant pullback down to these 13K regions that we see so often across social media. We're seeing, steady volume across the board, across multiple platforms. And overall, again, the Dixie trading downwards. I saw someone in the chat talk about the euro being the inverse, and it's absolutely right. That is an inverse calculation to the Dixie. So seeing the euro push back up is another bullish sign. What are these fund managers going to do with a weakening dollar? They're going to put it into discounted assets. Okay. Why would you watch your dollars, which are sitting on the sign, fund managers sitting on record amounts of cash right now? They're not going to just sit there and say, drain my account. They're going to put it in something discounted, and once you get kind of like this FOMO rally between them with retail, with liquidations happening, I could see a pretty explosive move. Again, the Bollinger Bands are kind of showing that. It's just kind of a question of when.
So you're saying that there's going to be a switch on for risk on assets at some point from the hedge funds to then start moving into Bitcoin. Um, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. I'll tell you what's kind of I here's something that has kind of surprised me is you expected Bitcoin to have a stronger performance, but what we're actually seeing is a lot of altcoins. And it's not like your standard altcoin season that we would go in our normal cycles the
Yep.
last 2 years. I mean, randomly Cardano, boom, shoots up. Illuvium. I mean, some of the most random names. Dogechain was one I traded the other day. And it's little subtle clues that are in the charts, but that is signs. Some of it is retail hopping in, but considering the gains, like you're not waking up and seeing a 5 or 10% gain. We're seeing some of these shoot up 60%, 80%. That is typically big money going in. Maybe they're using retail as liquidity to exit out because they're FOMO in, but there are buyers out there, and there are big buyers out there.
So I want to revisit what you said earlier in the show. Earlier in the show, you said you're thinking about a price movement to the bullish side for Bitcoin in the short term, whether it's now or somewhere between now and March or whatever it is. But then you're saying that you're thinking about a drop after that to all the way. You said 6K. That's a big ass drop. Let me tell you. So what do you see that would cause that to happen? I want to understand that thought process.
So again, this goes back. I have this posted over on Twitter, and this was kind of like the melt up update. And I know you probably got some people in your chat. Maybe you all probably think I'm smoking crack half the time, or like, oh, Weatherman's trying to get a click or a view. I've had plenty of bearish calls too. The melt up it's something that I actually have put a lot of research into and believe heavily. Now, the Fed has come out and has talked about deleveraging the system. Okay, I'm going to start with deleveraging. And if we look now at the open interest today is higher than it was than the short squeeze in July last year. It's higher than the bull run even began before 2021. Okay. And this open interest, it really just represents derivative contracts, and these exchanges have to stay hedged. So basically they have to stay profitable. If there's too many bulls, they're gonna shoot the price down and vice versa. So the Fed has talked about taking all of this basically artificial money, this leverage out of the system. The only way that they can do that is to one, maybe it's market manipulation, maybe it's exchanges. The how they do it is going to be kind of tough to answer. I don't honestly know, but the only way that you can do that is to drive the price up rapidly, and it's going to liquidate the bulls in that process, all of the short positions. Which, when you come over here to these charts, I mean, it is nothing but bears. I'm sorry, the bears in the market. Okay, they dominate the amount of open interest out there. Additionally, they are going to have to get rid of the bulls later on, which is where I've just started. I'd like to see the melt up before I start talking about the meltdown. There's a meltdown phase as well, because you got to get rid of all the longs that are in there. And again, the Fed has come out and talked about deleveraging the system. So when you have that massive drop, the drop comes faster than the rise up. The fear that it will come back in. Several factors going down to that 13K, very likely. I think a 6K, it is more on the extreme side of estimates, but I do think it's absolutely in the cards to come back to those pre-2020 levels, very realistic. So that several other factors, but those are the key ones, is the deleveraging, getting rid of all the artificial money is what drives me ultimately to those estimates.
So, quick question. So, you're saying about the deleveraging. Where is your price target for the melt up that would cause a drop all the way so significant all the way to the other side?
Yeah, so it it's in it. Granted, I know that people are thinking this is an extreme call. This is not normal for me to say. I have a modest estimate of 50K for Bitcoin to get back up to. I think that
You
there's a
say
good
modest
chance.
as like you think is going to go much higher than 50K, but
I do,
you're
honestly, I do, but like I'm already kind of like putting my neck out on the line. Like, go check my comments section, you'll see. Um, but the honestly, I could see somewhere 74K or more. I think there's a solid chance of breaking all time highs, very similar to like the blow off tops that you saw in 17 with some of these bigger name cryptos. Granted, not everything's going to melt up. In my opinion, 98% of the Ponzi schemes out here are going to go to zero, but there's going to be some big names that I really do genuinely believe are going to see all-time highs, like melting faces.
so you overall think that we're going to have a massive correction to the upside because of whatever factors you're seeing in the chart, you're seeing in, from your research that could be so massive in 2023 before the next halving event that then when the Federal Reserve jumps in and says, hey, we got to deleverage the system, we have too much artificial money, we've printed like 80% of US dollars in the last 2 years, we got to cut that out. That would then be the catalyst event to then drop everything down to that 13 or 10,000 level. Is that the
Yeah,
whole
yeah, that's
story, if I'm
that's the
understanding right?
large of it. Yeah, absolutely. So let's all be honest. 8.2% inflation is not good. It's not good at
Yeah.
all. And we see the Fed being aggressive, but they're already starting to, the predictions of 50 basis points. But imagine kind of like a seesaw. They're trying to seesaw a soft landing, which we know that's probably going to be BS, but it's not, it's a staircase process. Okay. And so 8.2%, they're going to hammer, hammer, hammer. There's likely going to come a point where they say, oh shit, excuse my language. I don't know your language rules on your channel, but they're going to say, oh shit, we went too hard. You're going to see a massive moment of QE probably that drives it up. That could be a factor as well. But again, the inflation, you don't see companies lowering costs. Like, let me give you an ExxonMobil, which just had record earnings, by the way. Gasoline, the cost of it is down 45%. When you go to the pump, you answer me this: is gas down 45% for you?
Absolutely not.
No. And so these massive earnings is making stocks. That is another factor that's going to drive it up. Huge profit margins across the board. Uh, so there is money on the side. Fund managers sitting on cash to push it up to those numbers is not crazy. But again, that inflation number, just because they're going to drive it down for a bit, but it's going to be overreactionary and it's a lagged event. So push forward. And again, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months. They're going to have to pivot again in the opposite direction because we're like, oh, we overcorrected. And then it's going to be an even worse QT session that you go into. That's my
Okay.
thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, that's a perfect explanation just to make sure that everybody understands because I wasn't fully familiar. I knew you had a melt up theory, but I didn't know you had a meltdown theory on top of that as well. So Magic, before we jump into ETH, what are your thoughts about 2023 overall, right? Just like you don't have to go into the charts or anything, but just in general with what
So
Weatherman is saying about, melting up, melting down, and
the
how do you see
situation that
things
he's
playing in
referencing is
2023?
very similar to 2018, where you
Okay.
had to move off of 3K to 14K. It's a very similar move in terms of not necessarily percentage because that was like a 300% move, but it was very aggressive. It was very fast, and it did result in a giant distribution before a retest of the lows, right? So is that a possibility? Absolutely. I'm not going to ever say it's not. I do favor a longer sideways grind. I do think that they're going to get inflation probably under control. And I favor the idea of larger ranges, but in larger ranges, you do get deleveraging events because as we know, whether they're hedge funds or they're, traditional retail traders, people suck at buying the lows and then selling the highs. They usually do
Yep.
the opposite. So
Yep.
you get that leverage, worked out one way or another, whether they're holding positions they shouldn't be holding, they never took profits. The real question is going to be the catalyst, I think. In everything that he had said, the catalyst is going to be, are they going to turn the switch back on and ignite that flame? Because it's there. If they did that, absolutely. I'm in the ballpark of, things are on the table. I think a big barometer is going to be between 28 and 32K, of course, like everyone else. But until then, I do favor just a sideways, we call it codename Brazil market, or if you go back to the NASDAQ after it had its big run up in the 2000s, a very, very similar structure to what Bitcoin had just put in, just a sideways boring market, and it doesn't make an all-time high for a very long time, and people are, bored out of the market, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I can't remember who said it. It might have been Benjamin Cohen. All models are wrong. It's just some are useful, right? So at the end of the day, it just comes down to they can be useful. We just have to make good decisions in the moment, and we can be wrong and still make money. You can't be dogmatic and marry an idea. That's where I leave it on that. So it's good to be aware of it. I mean, short squeezes happen. He's not wrong. People are shorting. Like, it's just like today I watched people short into the low, and I took a trade off of it because I knew they were going to be trap traders. I was like, these guys are going to get squeezed, and I'm going to take this $100 move, and that's my whole day. It's like it happens all the time, man. It's just, that's a much larger scale, and the big catalyst to that, to get that move going, is, as he said, is they break something and they go, oh crap, I got to turn the money printer back on, or whatever it is, quantitative easing is back on, and it's too early, but they seem pretty resistant to that. So we'll see what happens. None of us truly know. We're all just making plans and trying to make sure that we're positioned accordingly. That's it.
Exactly. Everybody's trying to do the best they can.
I've been very much in again, Magic Internet Money and I trade differently. I've been more of an accumulation mindset, because either scenario, whether my melt up is correct or Magic Internet talking about the market going sideways for an extended period of time, a spot buy and hold type of mindset, an accumulation mindset, that is the largest portion of my portfolio. Well, either situation, I'm just kind of waiting for that next run, whether, again, we go through a long grind and I don't get to cash out until 2024. I was wrong. I've been accumulating. Or I'm right, and we melt up next week, and I'm driving a Lambo around Kansas City.
So I'll tell you, I'm in an interesting position. They know that I'm still short. So remember when we came into that 47K area, and I was like, this is a huge area. For me, that was macro short territory. I still hold those shorts. I have not closed them. They're completely hedged. All my Bitcoin is hedged against that, basically, in the sense that I took 15% of my capital, and I hedged it at about 11x. So that way, if there's any drawdown, I still stand to make 6% equity on that. And I'm protected against drawdown. Now, at the lows, I'm never all in or all out of the market. I have capital I divide up into 22 is my favorite number. So 22 position sizes. I've spent 4 of them sub 19K. So I'm hedged and begun accumulating. And once I get the signal, like if something happens with a melt up, I'm going to close that short, and I'm going to take those, and I'm going to let that spot position ride out from there, kind of like you were just suggesting. Not everything I do is on leverage, especially on large portions of money, because that's a really bad habit to get into. That's how you get wrecked. Like when we talk about leveraging, you have to be able to separate a day trading account from like a macro investing account. And I usually do 80-20. 80% of my capital is spot holdings. I do buy altcoins as well. Contrary to popular belief, I do buy altcoins. A lot of people think I'm just this Bitcoin maxi.
I knew you did. I knew you did.
But so for me, I'm hedged.
Altcoin lover.
I'm hedged either way. So for me, like, it doesn't matter what price does from here. If it goes lower, I stand to make more money. If it goes higher, I'm going to get out of that position, still be in profit, and I can make more money from there. So it was really about capital management coming into this. I didn't nail the top. I'm not one of those people. I'm like, hey, I nailed 69K to the dollar. I told you so. It was just about finding the trend change and then making a good decision in the moment. And that's the same thing we're facing right now. We don't know if we're getting a trend change, but if we do, you have to be able to pull that trigger. So,
Dude, 100%.
You mentioned that.
I just want to tell the people, if you haven't smashed the likes, guys. These guys are bringing you crazy good information here, spending time of their life, right, to bring this information to you guys. So smash the likes. Make sure you follow them if you're not following them. And I mean, with all this being said, like this lower levels about like 10,000, 11,000. The one thing I'm skeptical about it is because it's feeling like the 100K of Bitcoin back in the previous bull run. Everyone is talking about going lower at some point, whether it's later, earlier, now, tomorrow, whatever. Everyone's talking about that 10, 13, whatever K level. And I feel like it's becoming this mystical level that just how 100K was. And it's like people are going to wait and wait and wait, and then never make a move. and it never happens, and then they completely miss, accumulating or trading or doing anything that they were doing.
You mentioned the leverage. That's a problem that I've seen. I don't know about your communities, but I taught my community how to short in November. And since that point, there was a lot of great trades that happened in the beginning of the year. But what I've seen, particularly in the sideways action, is a lot of people trying to recreate 2021% gains by replacing it with leverage.
Yep.
And I see 50x, I see 75x, which if that's your boat, if you want to go gamble, like go for it. But the problems that I'm seeing is people utilizing huge chunks of their portfolios and zero risk mitigation. Zero. Not a
Yep.
stop,
Yeah,
not a
just say no
stop limit.
stop loss, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
and crypto is really this place where you can change your life. I mean, honestly, 2021, because I dumped my portfolio, my 401k back in 2019 into the markets. The crypto changed my life. But I see this high leverage trading and the hopes that they're going to do it here in a month's time. Please don't do that.
I'll be honest. My day trading is like I do day trade at 22x, but I also follow 1 to 3% risk management, and my entries are usually 0.5%. My invalidation is 0.5% to 1% at most away from my entry. So I'm not too concerned about that. Now, however, when you get into like 50 and 75x, it's just like, are you just playing with like a couple $100 at most? Like, what are you doing there, guy? Like it's crazy. You imagine being like 50 or 100x long yesterday or the other day during the FOMC meeting, like everyone's ruined at that point.
Right.
Yes, I tweeted that out. If you did a perfect trade, you nailed the top and you got a perfect stop. I mean, you had a whopping 3%. If you captured all of it. I mean, in my opinion, that's so much work for so little gain. You have to use a ton of leverage, which 99% of people are not setting stops. So I think largely FOMC was I think it wrecked far more people than it helped. So.
I was ready.
Always,
I could guess.
dude.
I said it was going to take the low first. I caught the low. And the only reason we got it is there's a guy in the group that actually came up with his own Delta strategy with some of the tools we use. And I used his to get in. We had flat OI, and as soon as the trigger hit, I just marketed it in. Yep. And then I couldn't even get my bid set to limit out to save on fees. And I went from a 40% gain to 20% on that trade because of slippage. It was moving that fast. And I was like, good. It's like not even worth it at that point. It's like, good Lord.
Yeah. I got in at 20,512, which is not necessarily a perfect entry by any means. I was definitely in like the value area when I did that buy, but my stop is set at 19.9. And I've literally, I've been trying to teach kind of like stress-free trading. So that long is still open. I'm waiting.
You're brave
for a break.
for trying to teach that.
Like stress-free trading, I go out and I water my chickens or throw the ball for the dog. If it breaks the upside, I'll move the stop up with it. But I have that stop set at 19.9. I'm not too concerned about it. And I see more people kind of gravitating towards that. To you don't need to trade the 3-minute chart with high leverage. Like there are other ways to be a trader. There are more ways to peel an onion. So
it's not sustainable. And the main reason it's not sustainable is because it requires you to always have good risk management, and it requires you to take the human emotion of like, I can be wrong out of the equation. Because a lot of people can't, like, we both have high win rates. I had a month where I won 47 of my 50 trades, but if I get liquidated on those 3 losses, like it doesn't matter, like you can literally wipe out 80-90% win rates with 10 bad trades or 5 bad trades. Like it.
Yeah, I took a break. I had a really long win streak. Literally February, March, April, May. I took a big loss in June. In terms of that June, I thought that 28K was around the bottom, and I realized that I was off tilt for a little bit, so I kind of stepped away from the markets. And you need to do that too. Like if you realize that you're not following your own rules, your own teachings, just walk away. Because when you start revenge trading, and I see people doing this revenge trading, those don't end well. Typically.
That's not gonna end the well, guys. If you haven't smashed the likes, smash the likes. Make sure you join the Discord. By the way, Magic Internet Money, somebody was asking for your link to your Discord, so if you can drop it in the chat, that'd be awesome. So let's move into Ethereum. What are you guys seeing for Ethereum? I saw an article talking about Ethereum hitting resistance of 1,700, and if it wasn't able to flip that to support, it could come all the way down to $800. So I want to get your guys' thoughts. Is this a thing? Is this just fugazi, right? For headlines, what are you guys thinking for Ethereum? What are the resistances? What are the lower levels of for Ethereum that we could possibly hit? And are we gonna hit any of those anytime soon? So, Weatherman, you want to take this one first, or Magic?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. So for Ethereum, I don't think that we're going to have a ton of bullish action after that whole ETH merge. Like from a fundamental standpoint, there's not a ton of hype around it. In fact, I saw that the TVL was decreasing, so that's total value locked, and there I think it was roughly about $3 million a day was coming out of it. So again, it had that major push during the merge, but since then, not too exciting. I think low side, you could see this come down to around 1400 flat, roughly in that area. One thing I will say that I do like seeing, and again, overall with the market, I do not include ETH in the melt up call, but I do think ETH will see, bigger numbers down the road. I really love seeing that over here in this June timeframe. Of course, this was when most of the market was, taking a crap. This is you've been utilizing basically a price support down here on the lows, and so kind of the expectation is that 1400. We do have some bullish formations that are coming up here. Zooming over here onto the 4-hour chart, it's kind of in this descending channel, okay, or this broadening wedge, I guess you could say. That is typically a bullish formation, but the question is like how far along can that channel go? Like, is that channel going to last another day, or is that channel going to last another, 2 weeks? We
Yep.
obviously prefer sooner than later. Overall, again, because of the structure of these candles, it does still look bullish. It comes down to like, would you want to buy? Like, do you mind buying and risking, like a 5% or a 6% drop, even though the breakout later is due to be substantially larger than that negative percent drop. So timing that bottom is a little bit difficult. Personally, I'm staying away from Ethereum right now. This is not really like the type of setups that I like in terms of charts for trading. But overall, I think worst case again, maybe 14K and then a break to the upside.
1400, you mean?
Yeah,
1400. I was like,
yeah.
14K, that'd be amazing for Ethereum right now.
No, sorry, 1.4K. Excuse me.
Cannon with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. He says, thanks for the great alpha, Magic in Your Money, and Crypto Weatherman. Appreciate the love, man. So, Magic, what are you seeing for Ethereum?
We're similar. We're both kind of looking at the same levels. We've been range bound far enough that anyone that is decent at what they do are probably going to have similar analysis because price hasn't done anything for so long. Leaving off where we were at when we talked about this last time I was on, I said I'd already allocated all of the money I was going to allocate to Ethereum on this move, and I wasn't buying anymore when we were on here with Gareth. We were all kind of of the opinion we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with the structure. Obviously, it came up, backfilled the Q3 and POC, also the gold pocket here. But when you zoom out and we just get at this from a merged value area low, 1418 was that level. And you can see, like, if you go down to like an hourly, that was the level we were looking for to get back above. So you got back above it. You pretty much blew straight through it. But that doesn't mean you won't come back and back test it. So looking at it from that angle, yeah, 1400 seems likely. But if you start zooming out, kind of like he was alluding to, and you look at things on a little bit higher time frame, just looking at the quarterly chart, you've got a good move off the lows. Where is going to be my trigger? Realistically, you can start looking to things like the monthly. And what you can see is that you have a July high of 1785.10. This has also been a monthly swing failure pattern and where supply has been coming in. So even if there is continuation from this $1,500 region, I do think you're going to run into resistance between like 1785 up to like that $1,800 level. And maybe back down at that point to backfill some of these other monthly opens, somewhere right around 1327. Worst case, if the market's like dumping and we're all wrong and it doesn't stay range bound or doesn't go up, then yeah, worst case scenario is 1070. But I don't necessarily think that you could call for that right now. So I would say you've got an opportunity at pushing up as high as 1785. This isn't a place to be looking for bids. One little trick I'll give you guys that will help you determine whether or not it's a good time to buy unless it's a strong trend is just go to your last monthly candle. Let me get rid of these other lines on the chart real quick here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that altogether. And I like to treat this, it's marked as OB in terms of how I look at it. But now we go down to like a daily. And so all you've done is you've divided up a really high time frame section of price that's based on the monthly candle. And you can say, all right, we've reached the previous month high here. right? We're coming into it. Or coming into the monthly highs. Is it a good time to buy, or should I wait below 50%? So when is the best time to buy according to this? It's going to be down near that 25% mark. So you're no longer looking for shorts in this area. You're looking for longs. If you're up in this area, you're not necessarily looking for bids unless you're breakout trading, in which case you got to have your risk in place and you've got to have a hard stop because it can just roll over on you. So I would wait. And the 0.5 lines up really nicely with the 1418 level now. So that's just like something I do both on the weekly and the monthly time frame. And I think people would find it handy. So that's just looking at the last month. So hopefully that makes sense.
Dude, perfect. I mean, it's always crazy, right? I've always said it before. So many different TA strategies, right? Like Crypto Weatherman has his own strategy, his own style, right? Frankie Candles, Garrett Soloway, Crypto Blood, we've Bill Noble, Magic Internet Money, right? But you kind of always come very close, right? A few $100 here or there from each other's like price points. Even though you might have different theories in general and long term, but the price points always come so close, and that's always like really amazing about TA. That no matter what the style is, you can always get really close in the same price predictions, kind of direction where things are going. So, guys, if you haven't smashed the likes, smash the likes. Join the Danger Close Alpha Discord. Remember, 5 ETH competition is coming in the next couple of weeks, so get involved with that. It's 5 ETH that can change your life. A lot of people don't have 5 ETH in their portfolio, so somebody's going to be able to take that home. But guys, so we covered Bitcoin, we covered Ethereum. Now it's time for the altcoin of your choice. And Weatherman, I don't know if this is true, but are you going to be covering HBAR? Is that your altcoin of your choice?
That is my baby. I don't want to talk about the price action though. I was about to tag Hedera, and I'm like, can y'all just freaking pump my coin, because I've been giving y'all free marketing for like 2 years now, and
look where we're at, right? It was like, come on, man, make me look good here. Come on, help me out so I can help you.
Yeah, you rub my back, I'll rub yours, you know.
So is HBAR the one you're going to be covering, or are you going to be covering something else?
It's, if someone's got one in the chat, I do this on Twitch stream. I take any request. So what if the first altcoin I see in the chat, I will take that one. We'll do.
All right, there you go. You guys heard it. First person to type in their altcoin into the chat, Weatherman will cover that. In the meantime, Magic Internet Money, do you have an altcoin of your choice?
Tezos, actually.
Ooh, Tezos.
Yeah.
Why Tezos? I want to hear about that.
Why?
Just the chart, man. I don't even know what Tezos does, bro. I just can tell you the chart looks great. I don't care what it does. I just know when I want to put my money on the line. I'll go ahead and share my screen and get onto that while they're spamming. Pretty short and sweet. We'll get over to the Poo Coins tab here, and we'll find XTZ. Believe this is the one. Yeah, so very, very simple. I say simple as this chart looks very not simple, but I'm a big proponent of volume, as you guys know, and I think the volume profile, it's just another tool to find a range, right? But in this case, it's a little more malleable that we can actually look at a global range, meaning that all price action. Now, you can't do this for every asset, and the reason you can't is because you don't have overlapping price action on a lot of them, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been straight up since its inception, in the early 2000, like teens, like 2011 or so. You can't actually do that with it because it's just not relevant. However, it's very relevant here. So you can see you're at your global value area low, and you've got a nice, high time frame average below you, and you're looking for a trigger. Can we sweep these lows potentially and then get back inside this range, giving you an entry trigger? If so, it's setting you up really, really nicely to take a nice long. And what I mean by that is you just have a lot of Fibonacci convergence coming up. So you'll be looking for like your 1-to-1 here at the Q2 in POC. If you can get past, $1.59. But even from there, that's a nice gain. So I'm looking at this one as just a very low risk, high reward opportunity. And I would like to get up to this box right here eventually. And that box would be somewhere between $2.25 to $2.67. There's a few harmonics at play as well. I'd have to clean this up just a little bit. And I'll show you what I'm looking at there outside of these. So if that were to play out, you have a nice, setup in terms of pattern as well. I mark them as fun, right? And so what you would be looking for is something along the lines of this, or let's get rid of the shark there, butterfly and the bat, and both line up really nicely from key pivot points. You've got the convergence. The question is, if we're getting a bounce out of the rest of the market, if we can stay above, like I said with Bitcoin 19,150, it would just behoove me to see that altcoins don't make these moves, and make this move up into the EQ of this range, so to speak, and backfill one of the inefficiencies, but also hit some of these targets. So I would be looking at that one. And it's only 100% move, but that's not bad,
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tezos, definitely one I wasn't expecting, let me tell you.
Tezos kind of interesting pick. I hold some Tezos, and the big reason why is because the Winklevoss twins. Now, granted, one of them has left the crypto scene, but they hold that in their VC portfolio. And Tezos this is not their first bear run. They've been around for a very long time.
They've been around a long time.
Yeah, the Tezos. When I think of someone like the Winklevoss, they're not the ones that are going to let their own portfolio go to crap. They're going to start marketing campaigns. Some of these marketing campaigns I see in my inbox, but Tezos is one of those that I think that they're going to pump their own bags and then, sell out later on retail. And so that I don't want to even say it's fundamental, because the fundamentals don't get me excited about it. The fact that they have millions of dollars that they could put into ads for that crypto is what makes me actually bullish on Tezos down the road. So,
yeah. Only thing it gets me excited about is risk management on it. The invalidation is super clean, so that's all I want. That's it. Risk reward's good. I'm good, man.
Cool.
So did you get one, Weatherman? What did you see?
Matic. So I got Matic, right. Was in the chat. Yep.
A lot of things have been happening with Matic. Let me tell you, a lot of big companies, Disney World, Starbucks, all kinds of companies are getting involved with Matic.
Big deal. So I've talked about this before. I want to point out this initial run from June up over to August, 214%. We saw cryptos like Bitcoin. That one ran roughly 41%. ETH was a bit more than that. Cryptos that really catch my attention is anything over 120% when they had that run. Those the ones that rally the hardest in those drops in bear markets, typically, not always, typically have the best performance in the bull market, whether it's next week or it's next year, whenever it happens. So Matic has really had my attention for several months now. And I've had this on stream a few times, so a lot of it was already marked out. I really love seeing this RSI trend in the upward direction on each one of its lows, form this bull-shaped pattern. This is not a cup and handle or anything, but this is a bull-shaped pattern. It typically shows a shift from selling activity back to buying activity, and we're seeing that. We had this bounce off of the volumetric profile here around decimal 83 cents. And pushing back upwards. Again, these Bollinger Bands, I do think this has got room to continue pushing upwards. A lot of people probably asking, well, where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? You've got these highs over here around 104. So that is a likely scenario to get back up there. I would love to see it just push just a tad bit higher before a pullback. So again, we're going to draw this out. Personally, I do see we see multiple areas of confluence with this trend-based fib extension to the upside. What I could see is it coming back up here, ranging for a little while, testing out this highs back here from the August timeframe. And then we'll have to reevaluate. Of course, me being the permabull in the crypto space, of course, I'm expecting a move upwards. But I would say over the next week or two, I think that you could absolutely see 106, and then it just range in this band for a period of time.
Dude, perfect. There you guys have it, Matic. My altcoin of choice, right, that I've been looking at lately, and I've been accumulating some. So I don't know if I'm pretty sure Magic has seen me in his Discord asking people for some charts. Has been ADA, right? I've been picking up some ADA because I'm thinking, right, not as a trader. I'm not. Remember, guys, I'm not a trader, right? Not as a trader, just as a person that's dollar cost averaging into it, because I don't see any reason not to assume that it can't hit its previous all-time highs. It's been around through multiple bear markets, right? It's been a solid project. I don't think it's going to go away, and I don't think there's any reason why it can't reach at least its all-time high, if not more. And from where it's at to all-time highs is about like a 700% move. So I've been picking up as much ADA as possible. So what I want to know is ADA going to go lower? And any of you guys can pull up a chart on ADA, and unless you guys disagree, you guys can both pull up a chart. Do you guys see ADA going any lower? I hope so.
I haven't looked at ADA. I'll be honest with you. I'm not accumulating any ADA, but
just picking up Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin. I believe it or not, you're going to hate me for this. I've been pretty vocal about it. I did pick up XRP at like
Oh
30%.
God, what a stab to the chest.
Dude, I
Come
gave
on,
I
man.
gave the 29-cent target in July of 21. It was my most popular and hated video at the same time. Because I told him, it was some guys like, you mean to tell me it's going to go to over $1.30, then down to 29 cents? And I was like, yes, you're the only dude who gets it in this whole like slew of hate. And it did. And it got down there and I was like, if I don't at least buy some down here, like it's absolutely pointless. So I did pick up a good bag of XRP, and then I took profits at about 52 cents. So I'm happy with the return.
Nice. At least you were able to wash your hands of that.
But if it comes back to those levels, I will pick it up. I will pick it back up between 36 and 29 cents. I think that's support until it's not.
Nice.
I think you got a good choice there with Cardano. And the reason I say that, its chart structure is a little bit different than some of the others. You note that a lot of cryptos, Bitcoin, Hedera, a handful of others, Matic, they were making all-time highs in November. Well, Cardano made that run well before that November timeframe over here in September. Actually, it was about 2 months early, and then it started its downward run. I would say, from a fundamental standpoint, Charles Hoskins has been around the space forever. I mean, you remember he started off with Vitalik on Ethereum. This is not a new cycle for him. This is nothing new. I still see him on Twitter. I still see him going live, keeping the community together. He will keep the and when I say community, I usually say future backholders is what community really is. But it's a truth. His community is only growing, and that community can push the price back up again. So I think you're spot on. I do think Cardano has a very good shot of experiencing a new all-time high. The question is when. It didn't even follow normal trajectory of the market last year, so that is a really tough question. I would say the only thing that I have a red flag about Cardano, and I have to present both sides. Again, I do think it'll do well, is I've been, again, watching a lot of total value locked, and this is money, you know what this is, that is locked up on decentralized finance. And Cardano, its chart structure is pretty much the same, but it's been in a downtrend. But this is basically people taking their money out of that DeFi. I'm going to tout my H bar. H bar has been pumping up on that. It's not reflective in the price at all, not at all. But overall, I do see Cardano reaching a new all-time high down the road, and it's going to be pumpers coming along. The other nice thing is very, very little of those tokens went to I guess you could say, the founding team, the original team. Most of it was public sale. So that is really good to see that, and very convincing that it'll come back around for a new all-time high later.
Yeah, dude, ADA has been one of those that I've been picking up the most recently. So I'm hoping that we see some more lower levels, right? Some lower 30s, maybe, right? Maybe we see a 29-cent Cardano, hopefully at some point, if we have some meltdown or whatever. Because I am packing up my Cardano bags this time around. I mean, I've been picking up Cardano since it was like 2 cents, below 10 cents for a long time. And I plan on continually stacking it up since we've come all the way down here again. And I definitely, like I said, I don't see why we cannot hit a previous all-time high one more time and then even way higher. So, that's just me, but that's not a trader move. This is just dollar cost averaging, long term. Yep. I got patience. I got time.
Yep.
So, guys, to wrap up the show, final words to the people, and then we'll wrap it up. You guys can say whatever it is that you're working on, if you're working on something, and if not, just your word of advice, right? Never financial advice, but just your tip for the people out there watching.
Yeah. So I always have the same tip. It's make sure you guys have a plan. If you don't have a plan, don't put your money in the market like that. It's as simple as that. I know you guys are coming here and you're listening to us and like we're giving you information, but at the same time, make sure you've sat down with yourself and you're not just going, I can't afford to risk this money. But Tim and Magic, they were on here and they gave some really great. It sounded really great when they said it. So make sure that you guys have worked that out with yourself. You've written it down on paper at least and said, I'm comfortable with this and I'm doing it because X, Y, and Z. And then at the end of the day, remember, anytime you're dabbling in this market, those are your results, nobody else's. You have to live
100%.
with the consequences, not other people. So that said, be smart, be safe, avoid the leverage if you can. That's it.
It's funny you pretty much stole a lot of the words out of my mouth because I've never given the end speech on this show before. Precisely, this is an open market. There are 1,000 ways to trade. There are 1,000 ways. I mean, more than that, 1,000 ways to invest. It all comes down to your own plan, your own strategy. Just because I like HBAR or Crusader likes Cardano or Magic Internet Money is in love with XRP now. Who knows how this is going to perform down the road, long term. Maybe HBAR, collapses tomorrow. I live with that, and when some people tell me, I had a winning trade, I'm like, nope, you click the buy or sell. And it's the same way when someone tells me, hey, I had a bad trade, and I'm like, you clicked buy or sell. You have to live with those decisions.
Yep.
We are making content. We're talking about crypto. Hopefully it puts your mind in a direction and maybe you'll go and do a little bit more research, but it's ultimately on you. And remember, it's okay to think differently in the space. It's one of the things that really irks me is, you got degen traders, you got meme coin lovers, you've got ISO 2022 lovers. At the end of the day, it's all crypto. We're all family. We're all trying to just get through 8.2% inflation. So remember that.
100%, guys. I mean, if you guys haven't smashed the likes, I don't know what you guys have been doing this whole time. If you guys aren't following these guys, go make sure you follow them. They come on here, right? We hope to see more Weatherman on the show. This is his first time on the show, so I hope you guys go follow him if you're not following him yet. And guys, join the Discord. 5 ETH competition. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's 5 ETH. You go compete for it. You guys just got nothing else to do. Go do it. You might be able to change your life and you might learn a thing or two in the process. But like always, question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like it's hot. See you guys.